Today we've got some steaks. Not just any type of steak either. Well, one of, but we got these bad boys. They've been dry aged for 6 weeks. And then at the butcher just around the corner here. And they're going to be great. But I've never had a proper dry aged steak before. I've always gone to the supermarket and just got one of these, which is just a normal ribeye that you get in a package. But, so we're going to do a little comparison. I'm going to cook these two different ways. I'm going to put this one on the barbecue and I'm going to reverse sear it on my little Weber. So I've got a little rack there I'm going to put it on a low heat and then bring it up to temperature. Then once it reaches around 45 degrees Celsius, I'll take it off, let it rest for about 15 minutes. While I do that, I'll crank up the barbecue and then we'll sear it off. So that's for this one. And then this one, I'm going to cook it in a pan on top of the stove. And we'll see which way works out better. And this one I will also cook in the pan after this one's finished while it's resting. And this is going to be like a little comparison to see if, like, you know, with the dry aging, how much funk it actually brings. I'm not sure. So this will be a good little comparison. Alrighty, for the sides, I'm going to do some cauliflower cheese, which I'm going to make up a little bechamel. Then I'm going to melt some of this farmer's cheese in that's a little bit smoked. Going to add some bacon in there, some green onions. It's good stuff. And then also I've got some buckwheat here that I've already cooked off, and I'm just going to add some lemon and some herbs and mix that all up. That should be all right as well. Oh, also I've already blanched off the cauliflower, so that's already partly cooked. So yeah, should be good. Okay, so I've got a couple of tablespoons of butter, just pretty much melted. Now I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of flour. A little bit more. Alrighty. Now we're going to mix this. I've just got this over a medium heat. And we're just going to mix this in and cook out the raw taste of the raw flour just for a few minutes here. And then we'll start adding some milk. Okay, so it's been about a minute. And now we're going to start slowly adding the milk while we're whisking. You just add a little bit at a time until we get the right consistency we're looking after. You just add a little bit at a time so we don't get any lumps. So as you add a little bit, you give it a bit of a whisk, and then once it's all gone, add a little bit more. Continue to whisk as we add. Alrighty, once you've got a nice consistency there, you want it a little bit looser than you think, because once you add the cheese, it's going to thicken up. So now at this point I'm going to add just a teaspoon of salt, and sacrilege here, I'm going to add some black pepper because I think it tastes much better than the white stuff. And I'm also going to add in the cheese. And we'll just mix that in. And then once it's melted, we'll taste this and adjust the seasoning from there. Alrighty, once your cheese is all melted in, and I've already tasted it for seasoning, and it's good. So now it's ready to go on top of the cauliflower. Alrighty, so I've got everything ready for the cauliflower. I'm just going to put a little bit of salt over the top of that. Then we'll put the bacon in. And then we'll just pour the cheese all over the cauliflower. Alrighty, now we'll put that into the oven at about 180 degrees. Until it gets a nice colour on the top. Obviously we're going to add a little bit more cheese over the top. I forgot about that step. And then we'll bang it in the oven. Alrighty. And just going to add a little bit more cheese to the top, because it is cauliflower cheese after all. Alrighty. Once it's like that, we'll bang it in the oven. And once it's all nice and melty and this has a little bit of colour on the top, it's good to go. For the steak, that's going to be reverse seared. I've got my tray ready that I'm going to put it on. Now I'm not going to put any binders or anything on. It's just going to be straight salt, pepper, and on the barbecue. So I'll give it a liberal salting. Nice bit of pepper. Just give it a little push in. Obviously, you got to do both sides. And also, it's a good idea to put a little bit of salt on the fat cap. Alrighty, now we've got the steak all seasoned up. Just going to stick it on a tray like that. Now we'll go put it on the barbecue. Okay, so time for the buckwheat. Now I've already chopped up the herbs. I used a little bit of basil. I got some thyme in there and some parsley. You can use whatever herbs you want. That's the ones that I had growing and look good on the balcony. And also I got a little bit of green onions, just the top parts of it that I've finally chopped up as well. Also, I've juiced up a lemon. I'm not sure how much actually lemon I'm going to use in here, but we'll put it in and we'll have a little go. So, first thing is a little bit of oil. Maybe I'll measure that out. We'll start with a tablespoon olive oil. Then we'll put in all the herbs. Then we'll start with about half the lemon juice. A little bit of salt. And now obviously some cracked black pepper. And we'll give this a mix and we'll adjust the seasoning and lemon juice and all that after we give it a good mix in. Alrighty, so I've already mixed it and gave it a little taste. Now I'm going to add the rest of the lemon juice. And also I'm going to add some balsamic vinegar. It just needs a little bit of sweetness in there. So we're going to add that much. I don't know, I guess that was what? Tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. So we'll give this a little mix in. We'll give that a little taste. That's pretty damn good. Time to give it a flip. Alrighty, so I got the pan nice and hot. I got some high smoke point oil here. I'll put a little bit in the pan. Give it a little coat. And now in goes the steak. You want to give it a nice press down so it gets full contact with the pan and it gets that nice crust on the bottom. And then we'll let that cook on that side on high heat for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll have a look to see if it's ready on that side. It's been about 2 or 3 minutes. Going to give the steak a turn. Oh, and it's looking absolutely perfect. A little bit charred more than I wanted, but it's going to be all right. So we're going to turn that down to medium high, and now we're going to let that side cook for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll have a look. Alright, it's been in for another couple of minutes, for another minute or so on this side. That's getting a nice crust on it. So I'm going to leave it that side down. And now I'm going to take the pan, put the whole thing into the oven, and let it cook until it reaches a temperature of about 53 to 55 degrees Celsius. Okay. Once you've got a nice little melt off on the fat, we'll put it in a pan. Let it rest while we cook the rest. when you've got your other pan out, I've just wiped it out with some paper towel. We'll put a little bit more oil in. Now it's hot again. Now we're going with the next steak. Same thing. Just push it down. Make sure it gets nice even contact with the pan so it gets a good crust. Okay, I've got the pan on medium high. Got a nice crust on that side. I'm just going to flip it over. Push it down again. And we'll get a good crust on the other side. Alright, once your steak's at the temperature you want, you take it off and let it rest for at least 10 minutes. Alrighty, once your steak's rested, it's time to give it a sear on the grill. Straight on the grates. There's no need to close the lid because the steak's already cooked through. We just need to get a good colour on the thing. So don't be afraid to just leave it there and, you know, move it around a little bit as you see fit. Alrighty, after your steaks are rested, it's time to slice them up. We have the one that was reverse seared on the barbecue. With the dry aging, I can't taste any funk, you could say. But it's don't get me wrong, it's a really good steak. All right, let's go for the supermarket board. Yeah. It's just also a really good steak. Now this one I thought I overcooked, but obviously with the light I had to have it off so it looked a little better for the camera, but it's a little bit overcooked, but it still looks alright. Even though I overcooked it, they're still all really good steaks. I would cook them each way all the time.